smoking too, sipping and roasting. Yeah, that's what we do. Set 'em up, knock 'em down, make that cherry glow. Whiskey and cigars, the gentleman's cologne.
Cheers, y'all.
That sounds like a party just about to happen, ladies and gentlemen.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, friends, Romans, countrymen. Welcome to this fine radio program, podcast, and video extravaganza known internationally as the world-famous Smokin' and Toastin'. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're going to delve into all those things today, and we love all those things. It's show number 423.
Now that, if you do the math, you'll find out that that's exactly the halfway point to 500 now.
Now, just before we started the show, I saw a very, quizzical look on your face. And I wondered, were you doing the math, or what was that?
No, I just texted you what that was about.
Oh, okay. Well,
Were you ciphering over there, Jethro?
is it something about our guest, our guest from No Label Brewing Company,
over the intro.
Tom Paynter? Oh, oh, okay, I got you. Yeah, Tom, it's not about you.
It was that earworm that you were talking about.
Yes. Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, you're welcome for that. I won't do it to the whole audience, but I don't know. I really want to do it to the whole audience. Somebody stop me. Tom Paynter from No Label Brewing Company is here. Tom, back on the show for what? This is the third time I think you've been on the show?
This is number 3, guys.
Yeah, very excited to have you back.
I think this is going to be the best one yet.
Very excited to have you back. And No Label, which I love the sort of anomaly of the name, because No Label Brewing from Katy, Texas, has some of the most incredible labels ever found on a beer. So I love the irony of that.
I tell people all the time, we have no idea what we're doing.
Well, keep doing it.
Also, that when your beers are all stacked, you can see there's kind of a continuity with all the labels except for Gillies.
Yeah. Right.
Yes.
Which just is unique, and it's its own thing, and it's also awesome.
Yeah. And that really is. Now, here in our hometown of Houston, we sort of have a reverence for Mickey Gilly that you don't necessarily find in Keokuk, Iowa, because he's just like one of those. I mean, there's the whole urban cowboy thing. There's the big Gillies bar.
I rode the bull one time. I actually got
Gillies?
Yes, at Gillies. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Now, of course, due to my age, what it was that the movie had already come out, and I was in, I believe, some sort of summer camp daycare type thing.
Oh, okay.
And they took the entire, and we all got, it was closed in the middle of the day, obviously, and they let each one of the kids ride the bull.
I freaking love the 80s, man. Look, we're going to do it. We're going to do a trip to the bar.
Yeah. I wish they could bring him back.
We're going to do a field day trip to the bar.
You take kids to the bar and let them ride the mechanical bull, and the music on the radio was stuff like "We Built This City on Rock and Roll" by Starship.
Oh, my goodness.
I did it.
You're the worst.
And now the earworm is going to be with you guys.
No, just get it out of my ear. So hopefully one of you guys in the audience will pick up that as an earworm and it sits out of my ear.
Well, welcome to the program. The title of today's show is No Label Beer. It's good for you.
Beer is good.
Beer is good. Beer's not only good, but it's good for you, and we're going to show you why.
Oh, we have reasons for that.
We will make the case on today's program. I'm very excited about this because, you go through life with people telling you, that's not good for you.
That's going to kill you.
Yeah. Well,
too much air between you and the ground will kill you, too.
I do protest. And
Just so you know.
Yep, I do protest. I do object. And we'll talk about all of that today. Plus, we'll be sampling some goodness from No Label Brewing. And we have a gin to try today. And Ian, maybe you should hold up that. This is the most unusual.
I don't know if I can hold it up. It weighs a ton.
This is the most unusual bottle of gin I've ever seen. It is Eden Mills St. Andrews oak barrel finished gin from Guardbridge, Scotland. So you know how they are in Scotland. They brew all that scotch or distill all that scotch, and apparently they've distilled a whiskey and stuck it in some oak barrels. So we'll try this today.
Oh, that sounds incredibly interesting.
Yeah, it really does. I hope it's good. As you can tell, I have not done the safety precautions.
Now we used to get we used to get a gin from a little distillery out in Smithville, Texas. This is middle of nowhere, by the way. You wouldn't know where it is unless you've driven from Houston to Austin a few times.
I haven't. I still don't know where it is.
And there was a little, I'm blanking on the name of the brewery, but they made a gin called Moody June.
Moody June, yes.
And then they had a barrel-aged version of it called Dirty June, and it was really good.
All right, well, it'll be interesting
So
to
I'm
try
interested
this.
to see what happens. And I don't know whatever happened to that distillery. I stopped by there one time. They had the whole thing closed down. They had a guy with the garage door open, and he was doing like the lawn work.
Oh.
And he looks at me quizzically. I was like, "Oh, didn't there used to be a distillery here?" He's like, "Yeah." I said, "Oh, I was coming by to see if you had any gin." And he just had like a couple boxes of gin by the door. He's like, "How many do you want?"
Wow.
And then sold them to me for like half price. I felt like I was
You were definitely buying. That's like yeah. What kind of firearms you want? I got some here in the trunk of my car.
let me open the trunk of the car. That's what it felt like. That
Was that the new owner just trying to unload whatever the last people left?
I don't know. It was very strange. Well, yeah, it
He's
was
the
very
guy
strange.
that bought it out of bankruptcy.
Yeah, exactly. Here, just take it.
Sell
It
it for
didn't do
whatever
any
I
good.
Well, this, as far as I can tell, the Eden Mills St. Andrews distillery is still in business, and I don't know how long they will be because that heavy
Bottle
bottle
is heavy.
has to cost
this bottle
them a ton.
weighs so much.
Yeah, so we'll be delving into that and talking about it. We're very excited about it. Tell you about some cigars to watch for. And speaking of cigars, major announcement. Another celebrity is getting into the cigar world.
Oh,
There's a new line of cigars being launched by
Dua Lipa.
Conor McGregor.
Oh, wow. Perfect.
So if he, keeps the same quality control that he had on Proper Number 12, this is going to be real interesting. It's going to be real interesting. So we'll tell you what we know about that coming up. We'll find out what Ian had to smoke this week. I'll tell you about a cigar that I had and enjoyed. And we'll also do the most popular feature on the show, which we do in the second hour. It's a little thing we call Drinking News. And our Drinking News teaser headline for today is... Gee, your earrings smell funny. And we'll bring you the drinking fact.
That 80s commercial just went awry.
Right. See, we're all 80s today. Remember the 80s, it was the commercial of Gee, your hair smells terrific.
Yes.
Yeah. Which, if you think about it in terms of like today, that'd be really creepy. Like if you went up to someone at work.
Remember the commercial that like they were in an elevator and the guy's like,
Jeez.
sniffing on the woman next to him.
You'd be like, and then before you know it, you're in front of the judge saying, "All I said was, gee, your hair smells terrific."
I learned it from watching Biden.
Right. That's right. Our drinking fact will be coming up here in just a few moments. Our drinking fact teaser headline for today is: Are you losing weight? Yes, and I'm drunk.
Love it.
So I thought it was appropriate on a show where we're going to talk about how no-label beer is good for you.
Yes.
So yeah.
Yes.
It'll be,
And I'm drunk.
it'll fit in. It'll fit in perfectly. So we are really glad you guys are here. We have a lot of cool stuff to talk about today, and we'll be tasting. I understand. I saw when you carried in some beers, Tom, there was a few things there I didn't recognize. So either I haven't been keeping up with my no label, or you got some new surprises for me.
I got some new beers. I got some strong beers. I got some light beers. I got some beers that'll knock you on your ass.
Love it.
I love that.
Love it.
Ian's already in. I wanted to tell you after.
Perpetual Peace is one that I buy all the time.
Yeah.
Well,
Especially when I find it barrel aged.
well, that little guy has come with me, as well as we have a beautiful Weizenbach, which is just a German wheat with high alcohol. It tastes great, but it'll definitely take you to places that you weren't meant to go.
It'll get you there.
Well, this should be interesting because oftentimes following our recording of the show, I do a staff meeting with my staff here at the office, and I'm pretty sure last week I was a little loopy. So I'm thinking today I'm going to apologize, and the reason that I can apologize with a clear conscience to the rest of my staff is that last week Ian brought the beers, and when Ian brings the beers, There's no 4%, 5% in the mix. It's just all big stuff.
Hey, listen,
But I may be in trouble today.
Last week wasn't even my fault. It was all Michigan beers, and they all started at like 7% or 8%. I don't know.
My point exactly. It's
Even the
exactly
sour
what I'm
was
talking about.
high alcohol.
Yeah, that's right.
I loved that cherry. It
was good, right?
Yeah, it was great.
So I did bring a beverage mystery, but I forgot to go pour it. So we'll do that in the next segment. But why don't we go ahead and do today's drinking fact, Terry, if you don't mind?
All right, that sounds good. And now it's time for another smoking and toasting drinking fact.
Every week, I think I've found the last drinking fact I'm going to ever be able to find, and I'm sad because I think we won't have an excuse to play that fanfare.
That fanfare gives motivation. Yes.
That's right. A study in 2013 found that drinks mixed with diet soda make people 18% more drunk than the
18%?
than the same drink mixed with a full sugar soda.
Wow.
What?
Wow.
Yeah, that's a study from 2013. Drinks mixed with diet soda. So if you have, say, a Jack and Diet Coke, you get 18% more drunk from that than if you did a Jack and Coke.
Wow.
Is that because your body has to process less sugar?
I don't know.
What is going on there?
I can't even imagine.
I'm not
what
a
that
scientist.
is.
I just find these facts on the internet and bring them in so I can hear the fanfare.
Damn it, Jim, I'm not a scientist.
That's right. So, so there you go. Your drinking fact for this show, number 4.
I mean, that's almost a good reason to have diet soda, except for I abhor diet soda.
Oh, I hate diet soda.
Yeah, but hey, are you losing weight? Yeah, but I'm drunk. So I don't know. I don't know what any of that means.
Love that.
Yeah. So, Ian, why don't we go ahead, since we're going to do the beverage of mystery in the next segment, why don't we go ahead and take a look at what you might have had to smoke this week if you have any info on it.
10 seconds to pull it up. Here we go.
That'll be 10 seconds too long. We're over time.
All right. So I pulled out last night. I was telling you, last night I waited till a little bit too late and realized that I hadn't done my cigar review. So I grabbed a smaller cigar out of my humidor. This is a last call by AJ Fernandez called a Geniales, is what they call the size. It's a 4.5 by 48.
I'm very familiar with
Now, I have a bunch of these in my humidor. I'm going to go ahead and give that out right away. This comes with a Habano Rosado wrapper, Nicaraguan binder, Nicaraguan filler with the appearance gentle brown like fall leaves.
Yes, I like
on
this.
the outside, oily with some veins, red and white band and a closed foot on it. Pre-light sniff, sweet earth, campfire, classic tobacco, barnyard with a kiss of chocolate and coffee. The pre-light draw on this, I used a V cut, had a light draw, sweet cappuccino, caramel, nutty, earthy, fantastic. Initial light on this. Nicaraguan pepper blast.
Well, there you go.
Right away. I won't do
Bada
the song because we're saving time right now. With a sweet hint of cookie dough and its hanging leather. Retrohale is peppery pepper with pepper.
Yep.
Yeah, it'll make your eyes water a little bit if you're not prepared for that retrohale.
AJ stuff is it takes a big position on the pepper.
Yes. First third of this, I put down, I sense much pepper in this one. Along with sweet cappuccino, macadamia nut, barnyard, white pepper, salty earth. Retrohale is peppery and nutty, so the retrohale will settle down a little bit as well. Solid ash, perfect burn. Proposed pairing, malty amber beer would be amazing with this.
Yep.
And Highland Scotch, which is what I was drinking, so it worked really well. Toasty and nutty notes move up to compete with the pepper. A bit of cayenne sneaks in and leather on the lips, followed by salty earth. Retrohale is peppery and nutty with a touch of oak. Solid ash, perfect burn.
Yep.
The last third of the cigar, touch of the aforementioned chocolate sneaks back into the mix. Cayenne and leather gain a little presence here as well. Price to quality coming in at about $5 to $6. I give it a solid 6. These cigars are fantastic. I smoke them all the time.
And these are AJ's value cigars. And if they can be that good, it's a wonderful thing. All right, we got to take a break. We will be back. We'll talk more about No Label Brewery and No Label beers. Coming up next, it's Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It is Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. And craft beer today specifically will be from our friends in Katy at No Label Brewing Company. And No Label has been when was, I know you guys took it over from the previous owners, but when was No Label, when did it start?
2010.
2010.
So this November will be 15 years of business.
Wow, that's pretty incredible. And I want to talk about the state of the craft beer business and industry a little bit later on. But I wanted to also point out I wore my No Label hat.
It looks good on you.
I got this from Tom the last time he was on the show, and the one thing that I worried a little bit was would it clash with my outfit? But basically, gray goes with everything.
Yes.
So you can wear whatever color you want. That's my only complaint about this hat is that I don't wear much orange. So it sometimes doesn't, but I don't care. I just wear it anyway.
Orange doesn't stand out in Houston.
No,
though.
no,
Astros colors.
Yeah.
So.
not at all. Exactly. And I can wear it with any of my Astros gear. So
Yeah, exactly.
that works out well. Well, every week on the show now, we bring you a segment where we taste a beverage that only one of us has any idea what it is, and that's the person what brung it. Today it is me, and this is
The Beverage of Mystery.
all right. So we don't know what this is except for me, but we'll check it out.
I got to tell you, the nose is awful.
It is pretty bad, isn't
It's
it?
pretty strong.
There's something in there.
a little extra of that music for this smell.
It does kind of. The music, by the way,
Thank you,
is
Shane Ivers.
from Shane Ivers. You can find him at chosic.com. I think it's called The Visitor. And we
perfect
have
for
been
this.
visited by a funky smell.
There's something in here that's
You know what
really
it smells?
off.
It smells very fruity, but also like it's got a lot of the aspartame sugar. Like it's
Yeah.
fruity, but very artificial.
It smells a little bit like, excuse me, never mind that crushed pill aftertaste.
Right. Pay no attention. Pay no attention to the guy beside you at the bar.
It's,
I will say, after taking a sip, it doesn't taste as bad as it smells.
Good news, bad news. It's not tequila.
Yeah.
it does not taste as bad as, they're the aftertaste.
But the aftertaste, yeah,
aftertaste. What are they
kind of
doing?
hits you.
This
But
is obviously...
For as confused as I was about the nose, I'm even more confused about the taste. I don't know what that is.
Yeah, I'm not sure when I tell you what it is, you'll be just as confused. I promise.
Is it trying? Well, I don't know. There's like a... There's like a lime thing going on in the background. There's a...
You know how some of
Berry?
the beverages of mystery, you start out going, nah, and then like the more you sip, it's like, okay, it gets a little better as you go. This is the opposite,
This
I think.
does not
Very
get
much
better.
opposite.
Yeah, this is the opposite.
There's not a
Tom?
whole lot of words coming out of Tom.
Yeah, Tom. What do you think?
I'm just like looking at all these bubbles.
Yeah.
I'm trying to take all this in. This reminds me of like a drink that would be at like a party in high school. That like, when all the liquors are gateways.
What do we have left, guys?
What do we?
Pour it in the Kool-Aid and we're
We've
good to
got
go.
Diet Shasta.
What's the punch? It's called Everclear and Sumpum.
Well, you break into your dad's liquor cabinet. It's the only thing he is not drinking.
Right.
You know, in the Sunny D commercial, when they talk about you've got the Sunny D or the purple stuff, and the purple stuff.
It's the purple
It's
stuff.
the purple stuff.
We've had a Sunny D hard seltzer on the show before.
We've actually had, one of our favorite ones was the Jarritos
Yeah.
orange that tastes just like Jarritos orange, only it has alcohol in it.
Right,
It's really nice.
Well, you have any questions for me, Ian?
Here's the question. Is that a beverage of mystery in your pocket, or are you just happy to be here?
I am very happy to be here, and it's also a beverage of mystery. This is from Passion Tree Hard Seltzer, and it is a lychee or a lychee, hard seltzer. Does anyone here know what lychee or lychee actually is? It's a nut, right?
I've heard it. I've heard of it.
That sounds right.
Lychee. Is that the way you spell lychee, like lychee nut?
I think when they say lychee nut, that's what they mean.
I
I am not a lychee nut, though. I'm apparently...
Yeah,
You've brought a passion tree thing before, and we
Yes,
did not like it.
It has been a while, but I did bring. I think I brought their mango or
I
something.
remember that
and it
can. I remember also
Yeah.
having a confusion about what the actual flavors
what was
were.
actually in it. Yeah, these guys definitely try some different things. I'll give them credit for that. I bet at No Label, you guys try a lot of different things when you're testing out new brews. You just have the
Nothing
wherewithal.
quite like that.
You just have the wherewithal not to release them if they don't taste good.
It says here the lychee, also known as the alligator strawberry, is a sweet tropical fruit with a bumpy pink shell.
Oh, okay, so
and
that's what it is.
juicy white flesh.
Okay, just the phrase "juicy white flesh." I'm not drinking any more of this.
Gatorberry, juicy white flesh.
Thank you, University of Buffalo, for such a good description there.
So I want to dig into Paradise Tree's mind a little bit, because you have a company that
Passion
creates beverages, right?
Yeah.
So these people, at some point in time, this came across, I'm assuming, a board of testers, right?
Well, you would
There's
think so.
somebody has to taste test
If
this stuff.
nothing else, there's a board meeting of like the higher ups in the company, and the people who make the beverages, for them to try, bring it in, and everybody tries it. And apparently, when this one was brought
nailed
in,
it.
Yeah, they all signed off. Who votes to release this? I do.
Well, how many people know really what a lychee is supposed to taste like? So maybe someone just convinced them.
There's
hey,
a huge
it
hole in the
tastes
lychee
right.
market.
Yeah, right.
They're like, dear God, what is this? I don't know. What are we going to call it?
Well, I think it probably went something like this. This is interesting. I'm not sure what lychee is supposed to taste like. Oh, it tastes like ass. Okay, well, good. Put this out. This is nailed it. We'll be right back at Smoking and Toasting. Oh, see, those larger cans make different sounds when they're open than the smaller cans.
It's a little bit harder to open than a smaller can.
Absolutely. It's a challenge we gladly accept here on Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. Tom Paynter from No Label Brewing is in the studio with us today, has brought some beers. That one is in an enormous can, which I will just say is my favorite size. And we will be talking about that in a moment. I want to tell you about the cigar I had this week, though, while Ian is pouring all over the countertop. This week I smoked the La Aurora 1985 Maduro Toro. See, our show is very 80s.
Is there a trick to this?
80s referenced today. Yeah. Yeah. Actually, what you do, Ian, is you poke a hole in the bottom with like a bottle opener, and then you open the top and you hold it here and just drink. That's the way that's supposed to work. The La Aurora 1985 Maduro is part of the La Aurora Time Capsule series line of cigars, where the company releases specific blends and wrappers and names that are corresponding to the year that they originally released that particular blend. So it's something they've released before. Now they're doing sort of a commemorative cigar with the same wrapper, the same basic tobacco. Previous blends in the series have included the 1903 Cameroon, the 1962 Corojo, and the 1987 Connecticut.
It's real popular nowadays to have guest wrappers.
Yeah, that's right. All of which have names that help you discern the wrappers that they are celebrating, guest wrappers or what have you. For the 1985 Maduro, they're working with a Brazilian Maduro wrapper leaf on top of a Nicaraguan binder and Nicaraguan fillers. The wrapper leaf was a nice chocolate brown. You'll see it here. A few visible veins and an elegant but not too pretentious band. I sliced the head with a V-cutter and took in the pre-light aromas. I picked up rich earth, barnyard, and fermented tobacco, plus a little sweetness on the cold draw. Once I lit the La Aurora up, the first puffs did give me some black pepper, although not enough to justify a pepper blast from the Nicaraguan tobacco. The fermented note stayed with me along with black coffee and oak, but the most prominent thing from the very beginning was a bitter dark chocolate note. Pleasant. But like when you eat that really bitter dark chocolate and it's good, but it's got a certain bitterness to it.
It's got a bit of bitter, yep.
That note worked its way into the second third as well. And in fact, the 1985 Maduro never really lost the dark chocolate note all the way through. I picked up a hint of leather in the second third, more of the oakiness and pepper on the finish that stayed on the tongue as well. The final third, honestly, was more of the same. Not a bad thing by any means, but the flavors on this one didn't evolve much as the cigar smoked. Not quite as complex as I was expecting, given the Nicaraguan binder and filler. Construction was excellent. Perfect draw, nice even burn line pretty much all the way down, as you can see in some of the pictures here, wherever they put them, if you're taking the video version of the show. Suggested pairing, I think something with some inherent sweetness, maybe like a Maker's 46 or a Woodford Reserve Double Oaked. I think it would also pair well with an Angel's Envy Rye, which I'm going to try the next time I smoke one of these. When I made these notes, I was pairing it with a Bigelow Salted Caramel Iced Tea, and that worked together with the La Aurora pretty well. Overall, La Aurora is a celebrated cigar brand. Their quality is consistent, and they know how to roll cigars properly, so you get the right draw and the right burn. From a flavor standpoint, the 1985 Maduro didn't blow me away, but it was consistent and a nice straightforward smoke that didn't disappoint me either, which means this is a pretty good cigar if the price isn't too high. And good news, it's not. You can snag one of these babies for about $5 to $6 and maybe even less in online specials from time to time. Now, interestingly, you had a $5 to $6 cigar that you talked about, but that kind of nailed it, and so you wound up with a higher score, price to quality wise. I'd say for this one, bottom line at $5 to $6, it's hard to go wrong here. This is not going to compete with an Oliva Serie V Milanio or a Padron 1926 or anything like that, but it's a solid everyday smoke at a solid everyday price, so it gets a solid 5 on the price to quality
scale is a scale from 1 to 10, and the way it works is if you get a 5, you're getting exactly what you pay for.
And I felt like this was great for a $5 to $6 cigar. Not bad.
And if you score it above 5, you feel like it's punching a little above its weight class. I scored my cigar at 6 because I thought for a $5 to $6 cigar,
it's excellent.
It's excellent cigar.
Of the two cigars we talked about here today, Ian's is the one you should probably go to first. But if you happen to like one of these
all these things are subjective. You know, these are our experiences. We call them reviews, but it's really more of like, this is my experience with it. If you like what you hear, try the cigar.
Which is kind of another way to saying we have no idea what we're talking about. So
That's correct.
You know, make your own decisions. We just try to.
We fancy it up. You know, you're not a guy who pumps gas. You're a petroleum transfer engineer.
Thank you.
You got to know how to say it right.
I appreciate the fact that you can look at things that way.
That's right.
It's one of the things that I love about you. Okay, so we've got Tom Paynter from No Label in the studio today, and he's brought along some beers. And No Label is one of our absolute favorites. They're out of Katy, Texas. They've been here for what did you say? Almost. Did you say 15?
It'll be 15 years this November.
Yeah, that's fantastic. And you guys continue to innovate and continue to do new things. And this is something I think we haven't tasted before. Is that right?
No, we actually haven't made this beer in a little over 3 years. But so this week also happens to be my birthday week.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday.
Thank you guys. I'm
you don't turn 27 every day.
It's yeah, right. 40 and 2. Yeah. But you know, once you hit those big numbers, the in between it doesn't even matter.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
40 something. Then it turns into
50 something.
Yeah.
But this beer actually releases Friday, which is why I had to bring it in a crowler. But this is taco season. This is our Mexican lager.
Now, I've been doing research while you were talking.
Tell me about your research, sir.
It's really, really nice.
Yeah, it is.
It's really nice, and it has a really nice bitter snap to the end of it that I bet this goes so well with tacos.
Yeah, and this is a Mexican lager, right?
This is a Mexican lager.
Yeah.
4.7% all day.
You're seeing a lot more places come out with Mexican lagers. I got to say, this is one of my favorips that
Can
I've
I just
tried.
get a 4-pack of these cans?
Honey, I only had 3 beers.
This is the 32-ounce crowler, by the way, 'cause, for those of you not seeing this visually.
It's like that Simpsons episode where Marge says, "Homer, have you been drinking?" Yeah. And he goes, "No." Well, 10 beers. 10 beers. But here you could say only 3. And you
only had 3.
Yeah. No, this is really good, and like Ian said, it's just like I really want tacos bad right now after sipping this.
Like I just picture the crispy lettuce and the cheese, and some sauce. Yes,
and I'm thinking either really good tacos, or even I take Jack in the Box tacos right now with this. You know, it just is that.
It is. It's
that. I haven't had enough of this taco season yet to think about Jack in the Box tacos.
Wait, there's taco season. Oh, that's what this is
Taco
called.
season.
Oh, I thought you meant we'd crossed a date line somewhere.
It's taco season.
Oh, it's taco season. That's like duck season,
taco
rabbit
I mean,
season.
we live in Houston, Texas.
Yeah,
it's
always-
open taco season.
I was gonna say
all
exactly.
year round.
always taco season. But tacos are
if you can't
ubiquitous
find
now.
a taco, if you can't find a taco within a mile of where you're living, you don't live in Houston.
That's for sure. But tacos are kind of ubiquitous now. I mean, you can find a taco anywhere, like any part of the country, maybe even any part of the world. You find a taco in like Switzerland or Finland? I bet you can. I bet you can.
Here's your nice haggis taco.
Yeah.
I mean, if you the real multi-billion-dollar idea is go to Europe, open a Papacitos, have a nice day.
Yeah, I think you're 100% right. But for that matter, go to Boston and open a Papacitos. You're
Man, we found a little restaurant right up the road from our house, right off of I-45, just south of Houston, called Maria Rita's, I think is what it's called. Man, they have the margaritas are excellent.
awesome.
And they're cheap, and the food, like we just order like a single platter of fajitas and split it. It's perfect, and we still have leftovers. It's fantastic.
Love it. It's pretty hard to find bad tacos in Houston.
Yeah, this is a delicious beer.
Yeah, it really is. And not only does it make me want Mexican food, but it feels like this is the type of thing, with summer around the corner, that you could this is very crushable. You could enjoy this all afternoon at the pool.
If Corona tasted like this, it would be a much better beer.
Yeah, you're right.
It's
right.
It's a light delicious. It's 4.7%. It is my favorite beer that our brewer makes.
Really? Wow, that's cool.
Unfortunately, after this beer, things are just going to start ramping up, guys.
Well, did you notice how Ian got a little excited when you said that?
Yeah.
I felt it on this end of the table.
When I was at the brewery last week, you guys had one on tap called Cane Island Crisp.
Which is also a light beer.
Yes, and it was absolutely delicious.
Yeah.
I loved it.
I just want to point out that Ian's sentence started with, when I was at the brewery last week.
It changes from decade to decade. When I was in my 20s, it's like when I was at a party last week.
Yeah, right.
And in my 30s, it was like, well, I mean, frankly, it was when I was at a party last week. And then when I was in my 40s, it changed. No, it was the same.
Yeah. Well,
But bars are like
now that I've
drinking
hit
and
50.
standing. Breweries are drinking and sitting.
I think that's a perfect way to put it. And
Just give me a place to smoke a cigar. That's all I can.
And by the way, when you get to be my age, it turns into more like.
So you had
when I was at the brewery yesterday.
you had a guy out there, a musician out there playing and singing acoustic, and he was really good. But this poor guy, like, there's the patio was a little dusty, and there were little dust devils, and it was just dust in his face the whole time. I was feeling bad for the guy.
You got that outdoor space,
But he
can
sounded
sometimes
great.
be like that. Yeah.
Were you out there on Sunday? Was it Sunday?
Yeah.
We were out there? That is Chris Boys. He's a Katy hometown musician. Yeah, he's a great guy. He's seen worse. He's played out there when it's like 110 degrees. So
we did a
When
show.
you wish you had dust blowing in your face because the air is not moving.
We did a show there where I think it was about 110
Oh,
degrees.
yeah.
Remember? Yeah,
Oh,
it was
yeah.
like, but the brewery really has become a gathering place, I think, because it's more like family friendly than a quote unquote bar.
Yes,
Like you don't
for sure.
think so much about bringing kids into a bar, but if you're going to a brewery, the kids can run around. They can have something non-alcoholic. You guys can relax and enjoy the music. How much of you guys' success of being able to make it through this maybe tougher time for craft brewers would you attribute to the fact that you've also become a kind of a destination point for people, particularly in the Katy area?
I mean, it's probably 100% why we're still here.
Yeah.
Like we're a community hub of Katy, but if you talk to any craft brewery right now, I know you guys recently had Duck on from True Anomaly.
Yep.
Who shout out to Duck, love you, buddy.
He's a good dude.
Yeah, I sent him a message right before I got on today, and he was like, "Good luck, try to be sober."
Fine advice coming from Michael Duckworth. I just want to say that.
But every brewery's in a pretty hard spot. I think some of the problems they're also because of the success. When we started 15
Right.
years ago, there's only 3 breweries in Houston. We're the third
Sure.
oldest brewery. Now there's 75.
Right. And
That's crazy numbers,
well,
right?
But if you think about it, it's like every industry goes through this. If you think back to the cigar boom of the 90s, cigars got really hip for a minute and got really popular. So there were all these brands, all these new things coming onto the market. Well, they oversaturated the market. And when the sort of curve started heading downward a little bit, when it was no longer the it thing of the moment, there's more out there than the market's going to sustain. And I think that's what's happening with craft. Everybody goes, oh, yeah, the bloom is off the craft beer rose. Well, not really. It's just that it was so big for a while that everybody jumped into it, and not everybody necessarily had a good business plan or the ability to sustain through tougher times, right?
I mean, there's definitely a little bit of that. I mean, the good news is because there's so many breweries out there, I think the beer in general has gone better in Houston because
Absolutely.
you almost have to.
Oh, yeah.
Otherwise
Absolutely,
you
it
won't
has.
survive.
Yeah, absolutely, it has. And I feel like the same thing happened with cigars. It's like once the boom kind of died down, and some of the Johnny Come Lately companies sort of found themselves out of business, what remained was a much better framework of cigars for the average enthusiast to enjoy.
You mentioned you guys were number 3 in Houston, right?
St. Arnold, Southern Star, and then
Southern
us.
Star. Okay, I was wondering what the
Yep.
other ones, because Buffalo Bayou was there for a long time too.
Yeah, but they didn't make it.
No, they didn't make
around the curve.
Yeah. I mean, that's probably an example of, a lot of things, but mainly they kind of got real. I mean, they built a Death Star, this large.
Yeah, it's crazy that whole place.
But that's a lot of. I'm like, whew, that facility was like, it was massive.
How do you pay for it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean,
And how
That's a lot
strong
of
do you,
beer.
how strong do you have to continue to go in order to make for that?
Well,
type
and the other thing too
fiscal
is like
sense,
with companies like that, they make great beer. That 1836 I thought was a brilliant beer.
yeah.
the copper ale.
Yeah,
Yes.
the copper ale was kind of unlike most anything else, and it was quite good. But they, I think, after they built that facility, they just didn't push their beers as much. I think.
I mean,
So
again,
it's tough to tell.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
Yeah. Remind me again of the name of this Mexican this
Taco
Mexican-
season.
taco season, not taco seasoning, taco season.
Taco season. This is wonderful. And by the time this show airs,
Although
it
also
will
not a
have-
bad name.
Yes.
It will have just
Yeah.
come out. So, yeah, I agree. So, whether it's duck season, rabbit season, or taco season, this beer fits right in. I love this. This is one of my favorite Mexican beers I've ever had. Wonderful. We got to take a quick break, and we will be back. More beers and maybe even some oak-infused gin coming up. It's Smoking and Toasting. By the way, the bumper music reminds me, Ian, you need to bring in some music from your band that we can use as bumper music on the show.
Wait, isn't that my band that we just used for bumper music?
Well, yeah, this is your band from like back in the day. I mean, you're in a band now,
Oh, I am.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and you can look us up on Spotify. It's called Willow Creek Junction.
and they're good. They're a good
I
sort
like
of
that you said that with a
country
little
rock.
bit of surprise on the end.
No, believe it or not, ladies and gentlemen, they're actually enjoyable.
I was shocked.
Yeah, I mean,
You can actually listen to these guys and not vomit.
the guitar player's not great, but the vocalist is really good. So,
So oddly enough, I play bass in this band.
oh, that's right. I'm sorry. See, my insult misfired.
But I'm gonna tell
But I'm
Ryan.
kidding. Yeah, tell Ryan I said.
Oh,
Yeah,
there we
whatever.
go.
All right, we're spilling the
dang
beer.
it.
I just wanted to mention while Ian is pouring our next beer from, or attempting to pour our next beer from.
Oh, I'm pouring it. I'm just pouring parts of it on the floor.
I just wanted to
Is there a
mention
way to do
that-
this? Like, what's going on?
I just wanted to mention this taco season beer, the first one from No Label that we tried here, the Mexican lager. Since we've got tariffs on Mexico that are making your Corona and your Modelo go up in price, try just going with this. It's a better beer anyway. And this is not going to be subject to the tariffs.
It should put it in the same price range.
Although there's obviously the tariffs on steel and aluminum are going to affect the brewing industry, but at least there's not a 25% tariff at the border for the beer.
I mean,
so.
the thing about the tariffs, though, they're on, they're off, they're on, they're off.
Yeah,
It's like my love life.
And see, we record this show on a Monday. It airs on a Saturday. We have no idea what the tariffs did in the meantime. So, fill in the blank here for your own listening pleasure. Hey, the whole thing about craft beer, though, as opposed to just regular mainstream macro brews, So craft beer has a much better chance of actually being good for you. I'm talking about beer like these that we're tasting today from No Label Brewing in Katy, Texas. There's a gentleman named Tony Torgerin, who is with a microbrewery in Lena, Illinois, called Lena Brewing. And he was on Fox News recently. He's a specialist in what they call botanical brewing. He leads the team there, and he said craft beers have additional health benefits compared to traditional large-scale production beers. Now, you always hear about beer being bad for you, right? But craft beer, he said, contains many different phenolic, I think I'm pronouncing that right, Phenolic, phenolic compounds, he said. They use specialty ingredients like fruit and botanical compounds.
Flavor a phenolic compound?
I hope so, because they certainly have more of that than the mainstream brews. But he says these natural compounds, when consumed in moderation, so rule S out here, but when consumed in moderation, have been linked to health benefits such as antioxidant effects that might help reduce inflammation and support heart health.
I personally practice moderation.
Beer is good for you.
I personally practice moderation, but I only do that in moderation.
Yeah, well, I practice moderation, and I do it a lot. So I don't know if that changes things. Or
This Helles Lager is so good.
So this is a Helles Lager. Tell us about this next beer.
All right, so this is called Helles Wagon. It's the reason for the name is one of our bartenders. He hooked up with a nice lady in a wagon, and I was like, Helles, that's a hell of a wagon. And it was like, that's the beer name, Helles Wagon. So,
was it a station wagon, or was it like a covered?
It was a Honda Odyssey.
That is awesome. That is awesome.
It's like a mom car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the only reason I know about this is because this lady ended up coming up to the brewery being like, oh yeah, I hooked up with your bartender in that Honda Odyssey. And I was like, it was like my afternoon just completely went sideways.
Yeah,
Because now I'm on a quest to figure out what the hell happened and where is this Honda Odyssey?
A, how was that possible? And B, I get it.
But that's life in Katy, Texas. But this is it's
Hey, you have to have something that size nowadays because, I wouldn't fit in the back seat of a Honda Civic. I mean, it'd just be uncomfortable to make out there anymore.
Why do you think SUVs and these giant Ford trucks are such a big deal?
I suppose there's that.
Yeah, it's like, come on, baby, I got an F-350. Let's go.
But similar to taco season, Helles is essentially a lager. It's also in the tank for 10 weeks, but it's light and refreshing. It's not as light and refreshing. Taco season's definitely in the tank longer.
This has a little maltiness to it that I really love.
It's a little breadier, but it's still...
So what is the definition of Helles Lager? What does that mean?
Do not ask me questions I can't answer.
Oh, okay. Do you know, Ian, Helles Lager, what makes something a Helles Lager versus...
it's a style, I don't know.
But is there...
But I know it's generally more malt forward, and it generally has a very kind of green apple crisp kind of finish.
And you have a tendency to say Helles yes.
Yes. Helles yes. Mm-hmm.
This is delicious.
Yeah, you get a very similar flavor profile across the board when you try a bunch of those.
And you do get a little of that green apple snap on the end of the on the end of the finish.
It's always a bit malty right up front, and it'll always be a slightly darker. I don't have I drank all my other one, but it's almost always slightly darker due to the more malty kind of character.
Yeah, it's slightly breadier, but I mean it's still pretty
a little
crisp.
Bit of pretzel kind of note to it almost.
So there's the first beer.
Yeah.
And then here is so it's actually a little bit lighter.
Weird. Okay,
it
is a little bit lighter. So forget what I said about that.
I only did this so I could pour myself some more of the first one as well.
That's exactly what's happening over here.
Yeah, exactly. So is this one available only at the brewery, or is this coming to stores?
Helles Wagon is also only at the brewery.
Okay.
It's the
because that's where the incident took place, right?
Yes.
In the parking lot.
The incident.
There's a strong chance that going into the fall, that taco season may become a year round, and then you'll be able to get it everywhere.
Oh, I would be so excited about that.
But we're trying to dial in our lager program.
Mm-hmm.
Well, so I was going to mention Gillies, but that's an amber ale, right? Or a blonde ale.
It's a blonde.
Blonde ale. And Gillies is this is a go-to for me.
Well, so yeah, here's 3 beers: Gillies, and then the Mexican lager, and now this Helles lager. These are all, in my mind, easy drinking. Now, I know the Helles is
very drinkable.
a little bit higher ABV. What is the
Slightly 5%.
So 5%, that's not bad. You're still below typical IPA style ABV. So
But we're about to do a massive jump once I get to the next beer.
Oh, you just made Ian's day. All right. I will take a break here, and we will be back with hour number 2. Drink News is on the way. We have an interesting story for you, and we got to tell you about Conor McGregor and cigars. Oh,
Do we have to?
Why do I feel like this is not going to end well?
You guys seem so defeated.
We'll be right back. It's Smoking and
Did you
Toasting.
try his whiskey?
Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our program is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. We're going to get into more of that craft beer here in just a moment with No Label Brewing from Katy, Texas, which is a bedroom community, I suppose you would say, of Houston. Although, if you're there, apparently you don't need to even resort to the bedroom. You can just use the station wagon. But
The
Honda Odyssey.
yeah, there you go. There you go. Thank you. Well, I have a prediction. You know how was it Andy Warhol who said in the future everyone's going to be famous for 15 minutes?
Yes.
That's an Andy Warhol quote, right? And I think he's pretty much wound up being proved correct. Well, I have a similar.
That's why I tell people a lot of times use your 15 minutes wisely.
Yeah, that's right.
I know a lot of people don't understand what I'm talking about,
No,
but that's okay too.
That's a good. That's
makes,
good advice.
That makes my joke funnier to me.
Well, I have a prediction as well. No matter what you enjoy, whether it's food, beverage, tobacco, Conor McGregor is eventually coming for you. The UFC superstar.
I can only picture him in that. What was the movie with the bouncer thing?
Oh, you're talking about the Hangover?
No. The one they just redid with Jake. What's his name?
Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yes.
Fall Guy? No.
Oh, we're terrible at this, by the way.
He's the bouncer at the bar.
Roadhouse.
Roadhouse. Yes, thank you.
There you go. Thank you. So I'm sorry, you're never going to get me to
Roadhouse.
You're never going to get me away
Roadhouse.
from the original Patrick Swayze version. Thank you.
This new one.
Yeah, sorry. It'd be like filming Dirty Dancing, except instead of Patrick Swayze, it's like Paul Rubens or something. He's dead, so I guess that doesn't count. But anyway,
but now I want that AI.
yeah, oh, totally, because we do have that wonderful dance scene from Pee-wee's Big Adventure where he's up on the bar. Yeah,
AI, please replace Patrick Swayze with Paul Rubin in Dirty
Yeah.
Dancing and let me see what that looks like.
Nobody puts a baby in a cart. All right, we are way off the rails
I'm
here.
a loader, Donnie, a rebel.
This is what
Anyway,
happens.
speaking of No Label.
What happens when you bring up Conor McGregor? He's getting into the cigar business with Notorious Cigars, and their first release is a 6x50 Toro that uses Ecuadorian Habano 2000 Rosado Oscuro wrapper, which the company says has been aged for 4 years. Underneath is a Mexican San Andres binder and a filler that contains tobacco from Nicaragua's Jalapa Valley and the San Victor and Villa Gonzalez regions of the Dominican Republic. The cigars are made by MJ Frias in the Dominican Republic.
Sorry, there's a screen cut here.
Pricing
When he
is
says-
$140 for a box of 10 cigars.
When he says aged for 4 years, the whole conversation was really, I want to make a cigar. I've got some old tobacco sitting around. Sorry.
Well, here's what I'm wondering. What if we try this cigar and it's actually good?
Then we congratulate him.
Okay, fair enough.
And we still clown him because his whiskey was terrible,
Yeah, the
even though
whiskey-
he's not affiliated with it
Right,
anymore.
he's so this is what I can't figure out. Like, what am I doing wrong in my life when Conor McGregor can make a terrible whiskey and sell it for millions of dollars? Like, he sold that company for millions of dollars. Proper number 12. I don't get it.
Yeah.
What if he did it because he heard the show and he knew that it was bad. So he thought, let me cut my losses and then try a cigar.
No, if Conor McGregor had heard the show, I'd have walked out of the studio that day and he'd been waiting in the hallway to kick my ass. That's what would have happened. We wouldn't have gotten back for the next episode because we'd be recuperating. I mean, because he's like a powerful dude. But anyway, let's talk about something that has some potential to be wonderful, and that is the next beer that you have poured us here from El Carlito. And by the way, the connection is it's not UFC, but there's a wrestler on the can, right? Is that a Mexican wrestler?
Yes, it's what is it?
Luchador.
Luchador.
So I've always found the
Sometimes
Mexican
a man
wrestling.
must wear stretchy pants.
I've always found Mexican wrestling way more interesting than American wrestling, because as crazy as it is, it just doesn't look as fake. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like
Less
you believe
theatrics,
there might be something
yes,
going
more
on.
theatrical.
Tell that to Rey Mysterio.
Yeah.
So El Carlito, by the way, translates directly to the Carlito.
Yeah, so the little plumber here, this is actually a real man. His name is Carlos, but he's
Not the guy in the wrestling costume, but
No,
the little guy holding up the trophy there or whatever.
Yeah,
that is.
so there's a plumber on the label, and then he casts a large shadow.
Right.
But he's a real person. His name is Carlos. He's maybe almost 5 foot. Even though he's small, he's tough and he's mighty. Like he's a guy. He solves all our problems.
Is he like a real guy at the brewery?
He
He just comes out. He's like, I fix it.
He's a real guy at the brewery. Every time someone's like, "Where's Carlos?" I check under the tables. I'm like, Carlos, are you down there? But he's always, whenever there's a maintenance issue, Carlos will show up. He's like, "Come on, we can fix this. Be a man." And so his favorite beer, we have a beer called El Jefe, which is our flagship.
Which your Hefeweizen, yeah.
And that was his
one of the best Hefeweizens I've had, by the way. Fabulous.
It's one of the best ones in Houston. I mean, there's not that many, so I can safely say that. But in any case, he always drank that beer, and then we wanted to surprise him with so we were doing this El Carlito, which essentially it's a Weizenbock, but essentially it's a high ABV German wheat.
All right, so that's what I was going to ask: is what exactly is a Weizenbock? It's a high ABV German wheat beer.
Yes,
because it hits the taste buds a
The
little
banana
like a
is strong
Hefeweizen.
in this one.
Yes, for sure.
It's 8.3%.
Holy moly! So
doesn't taste it.
No, it
So unlike
taste it at all.
Unlike Peter Parker, who was bitten by a radioactive spider, apparently Carlito took a sip of this 8-point-whatever% and turns into this Mexican wrestler character. Is that what happens?
Yeah,
That's pretty awesome.
I love that.
Well, and it's just
Shazam!
But because it doesn't taste like an 8.3% beer. It tastes it tastes very easy. But the problem is, like, when we released this, Carlos is. Of course, he started drinking all these beers because it has his name on it. He's like, Carlos, you've had like 5. You have to stop. He's like, I'm not a niña. Like, no.
I love that.
But this beer has so there's 8 medals that are on the label, but it's received 2 more since then. So it has.
So yeah, talk a little bit about that. You guys have won a lot of medals and awards for your various beers, haven't you?
We have 76 medals.
76! Holy cow!
Do you have like a trophy case, like in high school or something?
All the medals sit. They were all sitting above our tap wall, but then we had to make space for more, which is a good problem to have.
Yes, for sure. No, but that's
Carlos
spectacular.
Little El Carlito over here has got 10 of them though.
Wow!
I love that though. But what a special beer! This really is unique and different and good. I find it a little more. I'm not the world's hugest Hefeweizen fan, but this I would drink like every day. This is just a really easy. I like Hefeweizen. Don't get me wrong. Dangerous, yeah. as he obviously found out. But
yeah, you sit by a pool. If you just gave this to someone and you poured it and they didn't know where it was, there'd be 2 beers in. I'm like, what's going on?
Which is what people were asking at my staff meeting last week, and will no doubt be asking today.
Well, who schedules those meetings?
Well,
Why are these meetings getting so good?
well, see, used to we did the meeting, at 1 o'clock, and then we would record the show afterwards, and we've started recording the show earlier.
Ever since the meetings have gone so much smoother.
Well, I was going to say mostly because I enjoy the meeting so much more now than I used. I've never been a big meeting guy, but now they just seem to sail right by.
That's right.
Yeah.
I did have some questions this morning when I was like, why is this happening at this time? Who is this is a hell of a way to start the week.
We're recording, just so you guys know what we're talking about out there. We are recording this show starting at 10:30 on a Monday morning.
I was like,
and now you know the reason why. It's so my meeting will be more fun.
from my perspective, my week is not starting until Tuesday.
Exactly.
Well, I was going to say, yeah, so you're not going to wake up this Monday and go, man, Monday sucks.
No, I'm going to wake up hungover again.
Yeah.
You do have to make the choice, by the way, after you record the show, you have to make the choice, okay, do I maintain this for the rest of the day or do I give it up?
So
what do you normally choose?
I usually give it up.
Oh, really? Yeah. Interesting. That wasn't what I was
I
expecting.
usually go home. Sometimes I'll take a little bit of a nap, and by after lunch, and then by dinner time, I'm back to.
It's tough being you.
Well, I mean, this is the only thing I do on Mondays.
Yeah.
I read Garfield, and I wanted to be just like him when I grew up.
I mean, I'll tell you, my schedule's great, and in this industry, between this and being a guitar player, I make tens and tens of dollars.
Right. Dozens of dollars.
Tens of dollars all the time. Yep.
Well,
And the package, the insurance and everything like that is, well.
yeah, right. Well, I can tell you this: my staff has learned not to ask me any important questions on Monday. It's just the way it
I
works.
like that we moved the Glencairns from in the studio out to the meeting.
Yeah, that's right. Take all these you want.
Yeah.
No, I got to tell you though, just to go back to the beer. I love this beer. This is like
good.
This is going to become
really good.
So it's a
it's
a
in cans.
Weizenbach.
You can pick this up at the grocery store.
Silver Eagle picked up the beer this morning. So yeah, this will be an HEB's.
now we'll find it.
Hopefully by the end of the week.
Yay.
Wow.
Carlos is excited.
There are few Hefeweizens that I truly enjoy, and this immediately. This is the first time I've tried this. This immediately goes.
Now, does this
right to the top
classify
of the
as a Hefeweizen?
It's
Being a
no, so
Weizenbach?
no. Technically, it's a Weizenbach, but it is really an Imperial Hef. We've thought about relabeling it because technically it's a Weizenbach, but no one knows what the hell that is. That's
Right.
that's the problem. Everyone's like, this don't look like no Shiner. I'm like, God, why? So I was like, I was just like,
Shiner did confuse the world with the
I just want to call it El Carlito, a Texas Hefeweizen, and then call it a day. I feel like that would increase. It's one of those beers. Like the second you drink it, you're like, I like this. What is this? What's happening right now?
Well, so it has a lot of the because of its nature, I guess it has a lot of that banana in the back flavor.
But not as bready.
Weedy, but still that weedy kind of aftertaste that lays on the outside of the tongue when you're done. But it also has a little bit of that hop, crisp, not crisp, but bitter kind of finish. Just really, really cleans it up really nice and doesn't leave it lingering in any kind of weird or funky way.
It makes you ready for another sip.
Yep.
Yeah, and I'm not going to fall for any banana in the tailpipe.
You said it, man. I'm not going to fall for no banana in the tailpipe.
And he did twice.
No, but this is really good, and so this is going to be available where I shop for beer.
Yes, HEBs all throughout Houston, and then a scattering of places throughout the city.
If you guys are driving just west of Houston and you're thinking, how far is No Label off the freeway? It is not far.
Yeah, that's true.
It is. You will be 5 minutes out of your way getting there and 5 minutes back onto the freeway.
And for our listeners around the country, like Houston is a great beer destination city. I'm telling you, you owe it to yourself to come vacation here. There's a lot of cool, fun things to do. But hurry, come before July. Yeah. That's the only advice that I would give you.
That's a good warning.
Fair enough.
All right, we got to take a break. We will be back. Drinking News is right around the corner, and we're going to try some gin next. Didn't make any sound. Just that sort of metallic sound was it.
That's kind of cool though.
Hold on. Yeah.
No.
There you go. You get a little pop sound. You worked it. It's
got a top like a Grolsch bottle, right?
Exactly. It's that.
Like nobody's drank Grolsch, by the way, in like 40 years, but we all know.
But we all know what the top is like. So while Ian's pouring the gin, let me tell you about some cigars to watch for. The Henry Clay Warhawk Rebellious is coming back. This limited edition
I was going to say
cigar.
that's been out before, right?
Well, the Warhawk has, but not the Warhawk Rebellious was out once before in 2020. But according to owner and distributor Altadas USA, it's returning due to popular demand. Now, unlike the core Henry Clay Warhawk line, which is produced in Honduras,
which is quite good, by the way.
Rebellious is made in Nicaragua by AJ Fernandez. It's available.
Guy.
It's available at retailers now. A few things have changed for this year's release, but a few things remain the same. It comes in the same size before, a Toro measuring 6 by 54, and it's still a limited edition, and it's still composed of all Nicaraguan tobaccos, including the same Habano seed wrapper. But they've decided to make more boxes this time around, more than twice as many. It's a medium to full-bodied cigar, and it comes in 20-count boxes. And then Jose Pepin Garcia of My Father's Cigars started in Cuba before he ultimately settled in Miami, and then expanded and settled down in Nicaragua with a large factory and vast plantings of tobacco. Now, My Father's Cigars is opening up a factory in Honduras.
Really?
Yeah, so this is going to be really interesting because my father has been all about Nicaraguan
tobacco. Yeah.
So this is going to be really interesting. But they've gone to Honduras, constructed a new factory, and started growing their own tobacco. And next month, we'll see their first blend from Honduras, and it'll be called My Father Blue. Prices haven't been released yet, but there'll be a Petite Robusto, a Toro, and a Toro Gordo.
Wonder why blue?
I don't know. Just, a way of, I guess using the color to signify the difference of country. I'm not sure. But anyway, that's something I'm looking forward to checking out.
I'm a fan of the Honduras tobacco.
Yes. You and I, we've talked about this before. We were down there at the Aladino farms and factory.
I forgot for a minute what we were about to drink.
Yeah. And
I put it to my nose and I was like, how interesting is that?
Yeah. So this is gin. But it's gin that's been aged in oak barrels. Well, you're laughing at this is
laughing
gin?
at me.
No, the way you were saying it. So this is gin.
This is gin. Yeah,
this is gin.
Oh, gin's not my favorite.
But when do you see gin this color?
Right, exactly. This is almost that straw colored.
Mm-hmm. And it smells so incredibly interesting. Like you can
get the botanicals on the nose for sure. Yeah, but
it's gin with a little something.
Mm. Oh yeah, that's why the bottle's so heavy.
That's the something. Yeah.
So this bottle weighs a ton. Like I can't believe. Like when I picked it up earlier, I was like, "What is going on here?" It's also a weapon.
Well, apparently. This is really interesting because you do get the botanical gin, flavorings, the juniper and the floral nature of it, but you also get this undercurrent of oak.
Okay.
Yeah.
And vanilla.
Yes.
Oh, and like a lime, like a
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that was interesting. Like because I said vanilla, and then all of a sudden it just went blossomed across my tongue like
sort
a
of
lime.
Kiss of lime on the end.
Yes, but it's got a very fresh lime kind of note to it, like lime zest and
yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sort of like what if you actually took a lime wedge and just sucked on it for a second, as opposed to like lime in a margarita. That lime flavor.
This is kind of delicious.
It's really pretty good, isn't it? Gin is not my favorite spirit, but this is pretty good.
It's good. It's good. Sorry, no, I was looking at the bottle and I just went on a weird mental tangent on basically alcohol bottles and just Like the way you go down the aisle and then everyone's got like almost a gimmick.
Everyone wants to have their own thing, right?
Terry, what's your take on this?
I like it, and I am not at all a gin person, really. In general, I'm not. And but boy, I have to say this is really different. This is good.
I bet this makes an incredible martini.
I bet it does.
Can you imagine this with a
little twist of lemon or
just a couple of olives in there.
Yeah.
No extra juice. You probably don't need any extra juice. Just the olives themselves.
Well, I love super dirty martinis.
Land a little bit of saltiness
right,
to this.
Saltiness to this. I agree.
Yep.
All right, show this bottle again.
This gin is a throwback to a bygone era when an old distillery stood on the site in mid-19th century. This gin
is from Scotland, by the way.
Yes, this gin pays homage to the type distilled then, carrying unique flavors from the barrel finish. Eden Mill St. Andrews is Scotland's original single-site distillery and brewery. We craft authentic small-batch gins, usually using locally sourced botanicals.
Now, is this something you get just Specs Total Wine?
I picked this up at Specs, yes.
And what are we talking cost?
$38, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. I can see that.
Yeah,
for gin, because I don't necessarily ever go and buy gin.
See, I understand this. I'm not a big gin person myself.
But this one I wouldn't mind having on the shelf.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah, gin to me is always like something closer to like I'm not a big vodka fan because I like to really earn my my drunk.
Earn your inebriation.
You gotta fight for it.
Yeah. Well, I don't want to like all of a sudden like what happened. You know? But this is like sipping like a nice whiskey.
It is. It's got some of those characteristics to it.
Now, you remember the very first thing we drank today where, like, the more you sipped it, the less you liked it? Mm-hmm. And it wasn't good to begin with? Mm-hmm. This is very opposite of that.
The more you sip it, the better you like it.
Yes. I love it. I love that lime finish on this is so good.
Yeah.
It really is. And it's so first you get the botanicals. You get the floral
much
nature.
floral.
Then you get that vanilla and oak.
Yeah.
And then the lime on the finish.
This is outrageous.
We'll be right back with Drinking News. It's Smoking and
Good
Toasting.
day for drinking.
The visual aids are good if you're watching the video version of the show.
I'm just going to say that Helles Lager
Yep.
with the little pretzel bites that we have.
Yeah.
They kind of form like Voltron.
And I'm just going to say thank God for the pretzel bites. That's all.
Yeah,
I'm saying.
exactly. Yeah.
Woo, baby. And we haven't even got to the Imperial Stout or whatever the Wee Heavy or whatever the next beer is going to be.
The Wee Heavy Perpetual Peace. This is one of my favorite beers
It's coming.
I can see why
in
now.
existence.
I can see
All right.
why.
Well, we will get to that Wee Heavy in a moment. But first, my friends, it's time for Drinking News.
Drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news. A Florida man with one arm said he had a gator for a pet. When asked about his absent arm, he said,
I had to take my gator to the vet.
drinking news, drinking news. Now it's time for drinking news.
For some reason, I was like, I had to take the gator to my wife, and then I don't know what the hell happened.
We got to capture that one for future use.
Amazing. Yeah. That needs to be the pre-recorded one
Yeah,
now.
for sure. For sure.
Cheers, y'all.
Well, Drinking News is where we bring you stories from the news, real actual stories, not fake news, not parodies of stories, but real stories from the news that sometimes do involve and are about drinking, but are always best if you've been drinking.
And buddy, we have.
Well, we begin this week's edition of Drinking News with the admission of a fact that can no longer be ignored. To borrow a phrase from the hit Netflix show Stranger Things, we are all living in the upside down. Do you know what people in the U.S. spent a great deal of money buying last
Underwear.
week? Good answer, but not what we were looking for.
Oh, sorry.
People in the U.S. last week spent a great deal of money buying chickens. No, not the lovely kind that come fresh off the rotisserie at your local Boston market. God rest its franchise soul. I'm talking about real, live, feather-wearing chickens. Apparently,
Like chickens with the buck and
yes, apparently the price of eggs has now gotten so high that people everywhere have decided to live out their personal Little House on the Prairie fantasies and raise their own chickens. I even bought 2 myself because my lease talks at length about dogs and cats, but doesn't say anything about having poultry in your penthouse.
Wonderful.
I live next door to a guy who had a rooster, by the way.
Yeah.
And we had to talk about where his rooster pen was, and it moved to the other side of his house pretty soon afterwards.
I was sure my idea was a brilliant one until after a week and a half with no eggs, I discovered I'd bought 2 roosters. I know, rookie mistake. But hey, at least I haven't had to set an alarm clock for days. So there's that.
I say.
As weird as it might be, I love that.
Boy's got a mind like a steel trap.
Yeah. As weird as it might be to see people in New York City raising chickens in their apartments that are not much bigger than a fun-sized bag of Reese's Pieces, it was actually something very large that was the strangest thing in the Big Apple this week. Thanks to a marketing stunt that somehow got approved in Manhattan, even though it's actually illegal there to use a puppet show to promote or advertise your product.
What?
I love that law exists.
Yeah.
Like, there's a reason for that. I want to know.
Right,
There's a movie behind that story.
Exactly.
Or at least a Broadway play.
Renegade Puppet Show. Starring Pee Wee Herman.
That's got to be like a One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest kind of thing,
it has to be. Yeah. Well, despite the fact that law is on the books in Manhattan, New Yorkers are now having to deal with the fact that a 60-foot-long, inflatable monstrosity of a balloon shaped like Kim Kardashian in a bikini.
60 feet long?
It's been installed lying horizontally in the middle of Times Square. You will want to Google this to see pictures of this monstrosity for yourself, but I'm telling you, it's there. Just Google New York Kardashian balloon. It's apparently...
I'm just saying, 60 feet, that's like, math. That's like 350 toes.
It's apparently to promote the reality TV star's line of swimwear called Skims. But as you can imagine, New Yorkers are losing their collective minds over this thing. And there it is.
When you find it,
Terry just Googled it.
I Googled it, and then the second one you slide over is like,
yeah, there you go. There you go.
Just because it's Kim Kardashian.
Yeah,
so,
right.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. But there you go.
Well, New Yorkers are losing their minds over this. But there is at least one report that fighter jets were dispatched after someone mistakenly took the huge thing's ass for a giant Chinese spy weather balloon. But as crazy as all that is, it may not be quite as weird as our main story in today's drinking news. This migrates us to the South, where just like what happens with New Yorkers who retire, we find ourselves in the Sunshine State. And that's where a Florida man has been arrested after stealing $770,000 worth of jewelry from a Tiffany store in Orlando. Police say that 32-year-old Jathan Gilder, not to be confused with Nick Gilder, who sang Hot Child in the City, which for a moment I thought was an 80s reference, but I think that was actually the 70s.
That may have been the 70s, I think, yeah.
All right. So Jathan Gilder, 32-year-old Jathan Gilder, falsely told employees at Tiffany & Company in the mall at Millennia that he was the representative of an Orlando Magic basketball player and was taken to a VIP room where he was shown several high-end pieces of jewelry. But he had nefarious intentions. The Florida man then grabbed a pair of 4.86 carat diamond earrings worth $160,000, a pair of 8.19 carat diamond earrings worth $609,000, and a 5.61 carat diamond ring worth $587,000. And and then attempted to walk right out, according to officers.
Hello, my name is Mr. Welthington.
He apparently struggled with employees and then dropped the ring, but still made off with over $700,000 worth of earrings.
Wow.
Now, as you can expect, police caught up with the jewelry thief near Tallahassee, and before they could read him his rights and arrest him, Gilder swallowed the earrings so the cops could not confiscate them.
Nanny boo-boo.
A scan of the suspect, taken at the Washington County Jail, found, quote, foreign objects in his stomach, end quote.
Foreign objects.
And now, according to the affidavit, those will need to be collected after they pass through Gilder's system.
At least they didn't say excavated.
Yeah.
Someone's got a bad job to do.
Cops say that Gilder, who is currently in a holding cell awaiting nature's call, had stolen jewelry also at a Tiffany store in the Woodlands, Texas, and has 48 separate warrants for his arrest in
You
Colorado.
know they're feeding him X-Lax,
Yeah.
right?
Don't flush.
The unstated part of the story, as Terry alluded to moments ago, is actually the most horrifying. The fact is that someone at the Washington County Jail in Florida now has the single worst job in the world.
Mike Rowe. Call Mike Rowe right now.
They will be responsible for having to comb through the Florida man's poop to retrieve
This
these
is
stolen
dirty jobs right there.
Tiffany earrings. Yeah.
I
And
just
that's
think
right.
of that South Park when Cartman ended up going into jail and sneaking in all the
Yeah,
different things
yeah.
and having to poop them out and then accidentally flushing them down the toilet.
There's no question that the poor sap who has to do the dirty work in this case does, in fact, have the world's worst job. Now, there are a few jobs that you might consider almost as bad. And in an attempt to console this poor bastard who has to do this, and as a public service to you, the listener, our intrepid team here at Drinking News, which is me.
Well, at least that guy doesn't have to open the prison wallet.
That's right. Our team here has, over the objections of a number of mental health professionals, put together a description of those jobs for you here in the form of another Drinking News Top 5 list. This would be the top 5 jobs almost as bad as the guy who has to find the diamonds in the dookie. Top 5 jobs almost as bad. Number 5, New York City maid services who have to clean up chicken poop from Manhattan apartment floors. Number 4, laundry service workers who have to handle the bed sheets from Johnny Depp's house after Amber Heard stayed over. Number 3,
Hold on. That gets a...
Number 3, janitors at the South Trail Adult Cinema in Sarasota, Florida, who had to mop up after Pee Wee Herman took in a double bill of an officer and a gentleman and Goodwill humping. So, by the way, I'd just like to point out that's the third Pee Wee Herman reference in today's show. Number 3.
Is that all?
Number 2.
Was that a double header with On Golden Blonde?
Yeah. Number 2, maids at Whoopi Goldberg's house who have to launder her adult diapers. Google it. I dare you. Google it. And the number 1 job that may be just as bad as the dude who has to find the stolen jewelry in the Florida man's poop. Number 1, the guy who has to clean the baby oil off the Kim Kardashian inflatable after Diddy hosts his Times Square freak-off. Reporting live from Orlando, Florida, where you might want to avoid buying any expensive earrings from Tiffany once those things are returned to stock. My name is Cruz, and that is your...
Gently used earrings. Drinking news. Drinking news. That's our time for drinking news.
Cheers, y'all.
That's more than gently used.
By the way, that was like the greatest. Had to take my gator to the vet so far.
Yes.
We've been doing the show for a long time. Been doing drinking
Let's go to
news
the
for
Hall of Fame.
like 200 times. Yeah, that's a Hall of Fame right there, if ever there was one. All right, speaking of Hall of Fame, you guys just won World Beer Cup awards for this next beer, didn't you?
So yes, last year we it's the largest beer competition on planet Earth.
I was going to say, this is not just Joe's beer contest.
This
is serious.
It's the big one. So only there's like 7 breweries in all.
That's what she said.
7 breweries in all of Houston that have even won a World Beer Cup. And usually it's there's a car box in St. Arnold. So really, you take those off. There's only 4 of us. True Anomaly, who us, Valencin's, and then Texas Leaguer down in Missouri City. But yeah, so we won gold last year, amazing. But then also this year, the Texas Craft Brewers Cup happened, which is all the Texas brewers
compete. Which that's a big deal. Yeah,
this just happened 3 weeks ago, and then we won gold again for that. So
that's fantastic.
This number 1 in the world, and more importantly, number 1 in Texas.
Yeah, there you go. Because if you're number 1 in the world, but you're not number 1 in Texas, I get
There's
you.
probably a reason I keep buying this beer.
All right, so tell me first of all, what is a wee heavy? What does that mean in beer terms?
Wee heavy means a wee heavy. So it's a Scottish wee heavy. Think of it like it's like a stout.
Right.
But
it seems a little more boozy than
Now, it's the same as Scotch Ale, right?
Yeah.
It's interchangeable name, right?
Yeah.
Wow.
So, well, it's think of the mix between those two. But so our base is a wee heavy, but then we throw it in a barrel. And you've been to our brewery, so the barrels, we age them for better or worse.
These things are for real.
Like in the tap room. And so we have it pretty dialed in because last year's batch won the World Beer Cup, and then this year's batch won Texas Craft Brewers Cup.
Now, your tap room is very what's the word I'm looking for? It's open.
It's
open air when you guys are open.
We are actually, our tap room will be completely AC'd in the next month.
Oh, really?
Wow.
Okay.
That's a big deal.
Wait, is that going to affect this beer then? Because that's where you're keeping your barrels, right?
We were at the victim of the Texas heat / freeze.
Right.
So that's what I'm thinking though. That's what I'm thinking though. The heat and the heat and well, it's not even the heat and cold that we get because our cold is never that cold. Well, almost never that cold. However,
our cold isn't cold. Our cold is freeze.
Right. However, it fluxes a lot, and
Sure.
I'm wondering if that has a huge effect. I just stuck my hand in my beer. I wonder if that has
For flavor?
yes. When you're going to eat with your fingers, you want your fingers to have flavor too.
All right.
Anyway, I'm wondering if that has a huge effect on how fast or how much aging or the barrel affects the liquid.
It'll be different, but the base is the same, and we check on the barrels like all throughout. So
You talk to the barrels. I would talk to the barrels.
we literally dab them and taste them, so they don't come out until they're ready to come.
Do you have names for the barrels? Like individual surnames?
We do.
Oh, Freddie.
Are there some barrels that you like more than others?
There's a barrel day. I'll actually invite you guys out next year for it. We have to test all the barrels to see which one is the best for competition.
Yeah?
It's a boozy day.
Oh, I bet.
I don't think I'll be available
I
for
want
that.
to be. I want to be a part of that all day long.
Yeah. Wow, what a cool thing. All right, when we come back, I'm going to challenge you to go back and forth between this wee heavy, which is a Scottish style beer,
Yeah.
and this Scottish gin. We'll be right back in Smoking and Toasting. Welcome back. It's Smoking and Toasting. Our show is all about craft beer, fine spirits, and hand-rolled cigars. It's show number 423, and our guest is Mr. Tom Paynter from No Label Brewing Company. In the last segment, we tried your multiple award-winning wee heavy. It's a barrel-aged wee heavy.
Perpetual peace.
Absolutely delicious. And this is something people can find in stores, right?
You can find it in stores, Specs, HEB, Total Wine. It's available statewide.
It's quite a thing, actually. And
if you're out of state and you want to send us some beer from where you're from, we will send you.
Sure.
If you're at the tap room, we have 23 and 24 available.
I saw that, and I actually had some of the 23 last time when I was there.
When he was here last week.
Did you ABM? Did you ABM?
No, I ACB'd them.
Okay.
Because the first thing I had was the 23 when I got there. And then I had the Cane
The crisp.
Cane Island Crisp.
Yeah.
And then I went and had the 24. and then I had another can and quit.
So when you said
Got a palate cleanser.
ACBM, I thought you were, by the time you finished the first one, you were like, yeah, Burger 19, what's that? Remember when CBs were a thing?
Yeah. My grandfather loved those.
Oh,
That was a
dad,
song,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, Convoy.
Convoy.
By C.W. McCall. There you go. I'm
When
embarrassed
you
that I
say
knew.
it, it's so perfect.
I'm embarrassed that I knew that, actually.
Convoy.
So I wanted to challenge you, Ian, to take a sip of this Wee Heavy, which is a
All right.
Scottish style ale.
I mean, I think as a challenge, I can handle that.
Then I would like you to go to the Scottish gin that we've been trying here today.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. So the gin is Eden Mill St. Andrews Oak Barrel finished. And there's a really interesting thing that seems to happen when you go from one to the other.
That's really, really interesting.
So describe
so
it.
going to
best
the
you can.
gym, going from the beer to the gin. You really get a lot of the barrel. You get a lot of vanilla. You get a lot of the oak going on. It tamps down a lot of the botanical.
Yes, it does.
And it tamps down some of the lime
That you got
aftertaste
on
that you
the
get.
end of it. Yes, absolutely. Now go back to the beer.
I like all these instructions that you're giving.
Just tell me you don't want to follow
It
this.
makes it professional.
It's
just-
now drink that. Now drink this.
This is professional drinking.
Lick your fingers.
Perpetual peace.
It turns
professional
perpetual peace into a malt bomb.
Yes, it does. Thank you. Almost like a malt. Like you ever go to the drugstore, or not drugstore so much to them now, but like to a place that actually serves malts instead of shakes, and you get that real malted chocolate flavor.
Yes.
That's what I get out of this.
And when
Perpetual
it's
Peace.
not, the best thing is when it's not perfectly mixed and you get that little gritty ball of malt that hasn't.
Oh, I
broken
love
up. It's
that.
the best.
I love that. That is the best. Something kids today probably won't ever experience, will they?
The Utes of today.
The Utes. Yeah, they're just, all they're doing is waiting
Is
for
that
the,
something you remember? Like you're like one generation behind me. Yes, almost. Right, I would think. What are you, 42 now?
I'm 42. Well, by the time this episode
That's
airs.
10 years
Yeah,
behind.
yeah.
me.
Time this episode.
By the time this episode airs, we'll all be a little older. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. But no, it's, you know what's interesting is that to me, this Wee Heavy, as much as it feels big, like it doesn't feel like, oh boy, I couldn't possibly have another one of these. You know what I mean? Like it's got a certain amount. Is this an Imperial?
I have drunk this floating
It's
down the river.
12.3%.
It's 12.3. I
It's
mean,
big.
that's serious. That's seriously big.
But much like El Carlito, right? It's just like it's very deceptive.
Yeah.
Yeah, it doesn't drink boozy.
Is there a meaning behind the phrase "perpetual peace" for the name?
There's a gun on the can.
Yeah.
Perpetual peace. You're dead.
Oh, well, that'll work. There's a gun, a smoking gun, laying on
I
top
mean,
of
are
the
you
barrel.
like a little dead or a lot dead?
I'm alive now.
Wouldn't it be great? Like, you know, there's all these different religious beliefs and stuff about what happens to you after you die. But wouldn't it be great if after you die, you show up at the pearly gates and you can see the beer tanks like on the other side, just gleaming. Like the streets are paved with gold, but those beer tanks are a beautiful shiny
Who's
silver.
the quote? Beer is proof that God loves us, or something like that.
Beer is proof that God loves us and wants us to be happy.
Yes.
And then the other one is was Winston Churchill that said, "I think if there are no cigars in heaven, I think that I shall not go." Two of my favorite all time quotes. But yeah, think of it. You walk through the Golden Gates and there's perpetual peace. It's a
beautiful thing.
yeah. I think
I have
I'm thinking of
actually
starting
drank this floating down the river.
I'm thinking of
and it's
starting my
quite
own
good.
religion.
Yeah.
Yeah. But instead of like baptizing people, you have to float down the river in an inner tube drinking perpetual peace.
That's right. You get at least a 4-hour float with
If you make it the full 4 hours, you're in.
Yeah.
You're going to heaven. You're going to brewer's heaven.
If you drink perpetual peace to the point where you can't swim out of the river, you have died happy.
That's right. You may have died, but you died happy.
You died doing what you
found
wanted
sin.
to do.
I got to tell you, this has been a really fun show. Tom Paynter from No Label, thank you so much for bringing such wonderful beers.
Thank you guys for curing
You
my
guys-
hangover.
I love
You got
this.
it, buddy.
One segment at a time.
And I just want to point out
He
again,
is a lot more lively at this point in the show than he was when he started the show.
which is different than say when we have Chris Hart on, and he's more lively at the beginning, but by the end he's kind of, kind of sedate. But I just want to mention again, No Label for a company whose name is No Label. You guys still do have some of the coolest labels on
Agreed.
Yes.
beer cans that I've ever seen, and I love that you keep doing that. And I just want to thank you, by the way. We didn't talk about it on the show, but I had it for a show beer because you guys are our show beer sponsor this month. But Cali Boy, that's one of my favorite West Coast IPAs of all time. I absolutely love this, and every time I drink one, I love looking at the can of this. Is this your?
This is
that's
our
your
head brewer. Yeah,
It's your head brewer. He's sweating.
He came
there,
from
by the way.
California. He sweated his way to Texas. God bless him.
Well, if you're sweating before you get here, you got a rude awakening going on for you once you arrive. So
When
No
you visit
Label.
in May, you're like, it's like this all year. It must be great.
So the most important thing we learned in today's show: No Label in Katy, Texas, with summer, really on the way. They're going to be air conditioning their tap room.
Yes.
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 Ian, let's book some time out there.
Let's do it.
Love it. Have a great week, my friends. We will be back here with you next week for Smoking and Toasting. And I haven't looked at my calendar, so I don't remember what's going on next week. But we'll see you here, and it'll be fun. And cheers, y'all.
Cheers, y'all.
Thank you
Cheers,
guys.
y'all.
It's been a blast.
So what anybody else says, such a stuff that